A Palestinian fighter invaded an Israeli base called Tayassir in the northern part of the West Bank in the middle of the night, killing and wounding dozens of Israeli soldiers. The official confirmation coming from Israel stated that 2 Israelis were killed and that 11 were wounded in total. However, these numbers could be much higher because this base holds more people and the attack took a long time to carry out. So from what we understand, and from multiple reports from the Palestinian side and from the Israeli side as well, a man went into the base either in the middle of the night or in the early hours of the morning. Several of the Israeli genocide terrorists who were in the base were attacked. Israel confirmed 2 were killed. After he targeted all of these people, and most of them might have been asleep, by the way, and if they were asleep, then we're talking about most likely dead. And that was a single Palestinian fighter whose identity hasn't been revealed yet. Then he went and hid in the tower, the control tower inside that base, with clashes coming with him and more forces of the IDF in that area, up until a force eventually killed him. Israel only declared 2 killed. They did not release a lot of information, but it was a massive blow to Israel and a massive shock as well. Israel is conducting a campaign of genocide in the West Bank, in Jenin. They're destroying everything. Many people left Jenin, destroying buildings, and they're saying that we want to destroy the whole resistance. Now with this attack, it's showing that even if they're deploying as many forces as they like and continue to conduct as much destruction as possible when it comes to Jenin, they cannot stop these very sophisticated attacks on their bases. And it shows how vulnerable they are and how incompetent they are in protecting their bases. Now, when it comes to single attacks coming from Palestinian fighters, this is not the first time. There have been many incidents where Palestinian fighters individually targeted dozens of Israeli soldiers. One of them in the West Bank took place several decades back. There was a man who used a very old sniper that was held or found years later with the identity of the man. And he killed over 17 Israeli soldiers at that time. Then we had many attacks in the West Bank with some of the resistance fighters and other parts too. And now we have this attack in Israeli base when we're witnessing such an intense presence of the Israeli occupation in the West Bank, with this massive campaign taking place in Jenin and in other parts too. This is a very important blow to Israel, and there haven't been many statements. It's like they're ashamed to speak about it, even when it comes to senior figures in the government, Smotrich and co. They're not talking a lot about it. But what's for sure is sending a serious message to Israel that the situation in the West Bank will not be resolved with the Israeli campaign in Jenin. Which leads me to the second thing that I wanted to talk to you about. Israel confirmed today that they are sending a delegation for the negotiations to Doha. They had a very slight delay, but now they confirmed that they're sending a delegation. What does this mean? This means that Israel is continuing, at least with this initial move, towards the talks of phase 2 when it comes to the ceasefire. So Benjamin Netanyahu was trying to show that, oh no, we might not be interested. I'm going to have to meet Trump. I'm going to have to speak with him first. We're going to have to set priorities. But the delegation has been sent before even any reports about the meeting or details about the meeting between Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump were published. All we know is that yesterday he did meet with Witkoff, and Witkoff said, we are in process of the negotiations when it comes to phase 2. Did he have another telling off from Witkoff to push him to send the delegation towards the second phase and talk about the second phase? And is that related to him sending the delegation now rather than the weekend? Because when they initially delayed sending a delegation, the government of Netanyahu, they started having reports that we're going to send them more towards the weekend, after everything's concluded, after Benjamin Netanyahu sits with Trump, after he finishes the visit to the US. And now he is extending his visit to the United States. So he met with Trump, and Trump is still having these statements in relation to deporting the population of Gaza. And he's trying to kind of cover it up by saying he doesn't necessarily support Israeli settling. They're acting as if he cares about the people of Gaza. All of that is talk primarily to please Benjamin Netanyahu and to continue pushing him towards phase 2 of the ceasefire. Why is Benjamin Netanyahu reluctant? And why is Israel having this delay? And why are they trying to go back and forth with the United States administration in relation to phase 2? It's because phase 2 includes very important, critical, and very vital things when it comes to the release of prisoners and the next moves when it comes to Gaza. Phase 2, there were reports that Marwan al-Barghouthi and Ahmad Saadat will be released in phase 2. Marwan al-Barghouthi is the most notable competitor for Abu Mazen, Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority leader. Now, according to the reports, he might be reported to Turkey. However, in any upcoming presidential elections in Palestine, Marwan Barghouthi would be able to run for presidency even if he is in Turkey. And if he wins, and he has a very, very high likelihood of winning because Abu Mazen doesn't have any popularity in the street, there will be more pressure on Israel to allow him back to the West Bank and end this deportation thing. Now, another person we're talking about is Ahmad Saadat. Ahmad Saadat is the Secretary General of the PFLP. And again, he is a very prominent figure in Palestinian politics, especially with the left in Palestine. Now, so far, the members of other groups rather than Hamas who were released are way more than Hamas members. And by doing this, Hamas is showing everyone in Palestine and everywhere across the world that they are not a movement who are only thinking about themselves or their own prisoners. They are working towards Palestine and its national interests and everyone in the Israeli prisons. This boosts their popularity even further. That's something that Israel did not want to give to Hamas, but now they're forced to give it to Hamas. And the release of Marwan Barghouthi and Ahmad Saadat is going to be another move that will increase the popularity of Hamas, give them a more of a symbolic victory as well, alongside the ground victory, defeating the Israeli army and making sure that they fail with their mission to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians and destroy the Palestinian resistance and make sure that Gaza doesn't pose a threat again. Israel failed on every level when it comes to their objectives inside of Gaza. The other thing that phase 2 will be dealing with is the future of Gaza. There will be talks about rebuilding, there will be talks about heavy equipment going into Gaza, and there will be talks about ending the war. And Hamas already has very big cards to use as leverage against Israel, not only for Israel to go on to phase 2, but also phase 3 and conclude everything. Why? Because they're gonna leave the Israeli commanders, the officers, the senior military personnel that they captured on the 7th of October up until the final moment. A senior figure in the Israeli delegation for the negotiations, he told one of the family members of the prisoners of war in Gaza before, just a few days back, that there could be a possibility that not all of the bodies will be returned. And Hamas are insisting that we completely withdraw from Gaza and end the war before they release everyone. And another senior figure from Hamas called Mahmoud al-Mirdawi, he also made a statement recently saying that yes, Israel is having certain delays when it comes to the ceasefire. However, our movement, we have moves that will pull the rug from under the feet of Benjamin Netanyahu, and we won't give him any excuse to return to the war. Hamas previously stated several times that we are very much focused on implementing every detail when it comes to the ceasefire, and they don't want to give Israel any excuses. Now, with phase 2 having more significant things about to happen and be implemented, Benjamin Netanyahu might try a few things. However, he is tied to an agreement. And clearly, despite all of the statements that we're hearing from the Trump administration, they are pushing him to continue with phase 2. And this declaration today coming from Benjamin Netanyahu and his government that they are going and sending the delegation to Doha indicates that they are indeed starting the process when it comes to phase 2 of the ceasefire.